All right, let's dive into a topic that, let's be honest, quietly drives so many organizations crazy: data governance. It's that big project that promises to bring order to the chaos, but more often than not, just delivers a massive headache. But what if there's a better way, a smarter blueprint, that you can even supercharge with today's AI? Well, today, we're going to tear down that old, broken model and build a new one from the ground up.
You just have to love the honesty of this quote from data strategist Ira Whiteside back in 2015. After getting called in to rescue yet another failing data governance project, this was his blunt take. And you know what? It cuts right to the heart of the problem we're talking about. Why do these incredibly expensive, super complex projects so often feel like they're just producing noise? And that feeling? That's what leads us straight into what we can call the data governance trap. Let's really dig into why these projects, which are supposed to create so much value, often just end up creating a giant hole in the budget. I bet this story sounds familiar to a lot of you. It all starts at the top, right? Senior management is just fed up with seeing reports that don't add up. So what's the knee-jerk reaction? Let's buy a big, shiny, expensive tool from a vendor. And just like that, the entire focus of the project shifts. Suddenly, nobody's talking about solving the business problem anymore. It's all about servers and platforms and just trying to get the new tech to work.
And this, right here, this gets to the absolute core of the whole argument. The source material is crystal clear on this. The tool you pick, the vendor, the platform, that is not what's going to make you succeed or fail. You can have the best, most expensive technology in the world, but if your approach is all wrong, you're just creating that expensive techno crap. It's the methodology, the how, that really truly matters.
So what does this broken tool-first approach actually look like in the real world? Well, a great way to think about it is trying to build a broken pyramid.
Now, on paper, this structure seems to make a lot of sense. At the very top, you've got the people, your data stewards, your governance councils. Then, in the middle, you have what's called Master Data Management, or MDM. Just think of that as the single source of truth, the official dictionary for your most important data, like customers or products. And at the bottom, you have all the foundational tools for actually cleaning up the data. Seems logical, doesn't it?
But here it is. This is the critical project-killing flaw. Companies get totally overwhelmed, and they try to build all three of these massive layers at the exact same time. So you've got people at the top defining roles, you've got tech teams building an empty application in the middle, and you've got data teams trying to fix everything at the bottom, all at once, and with no real business goal guiding any of it. And what happens when you try to do everything at once? Well, you get a project with sky-high costs and just enormous risk. All that time, all that money, it gets poured into building infrastructure. But the actual, tangible benefit to the business, it's flatlined, stuck at pretty much zero. It's an absolute recipe for disaster, with impatient execs, a burned-out team, and another failed project to add to the pile.
Okay, so if that's the trap, how do we get out of it? Let's switch gears and look at the solution. A business-first blueprint that flips this whole process completely on its head. Now this blueprint, it's a total game changer. Instead of building from the ground up, it takes this really strange but brilliant path. You start at the top, then you jump all the way down to the bottom, and you only finish in the middle at the very end. I know, it sounds completely backward, but trust me, there's some serious logic behind this.
Step 1. Forget about the tools for a second. The first thing you do is go talk to the business about what they actually measure. Take a huge metric, like revenue. What are the pieces that make it up? Things like product or geography, financial categories. You just write them down and organize them. That's it. This becomes your roadmap, and it's driven entirely by what the business actually needs.
Okay, now you jump down to the bottom. And this is key, you're not trying to build some massive data quality foundation for the entire company. No way. Instead, you use the tools you probably already have to build a small, very focused metadata mart. You're looking at and linking data that is specifically related to those business metrics you just defined in step 1. Think of it as a surgical strike, not a full-scale invasion.
And only now, at the very end, do you even think about that middle layer. That big, scary master data management project, it suddenly becomes a pretty simple mapping exercise. And why is that? Because you already defined the business terms up top, and you already profiled the source data at the bottom. The job is now just to connect the dots between the two.
So we have this really powerful business-first blueprint, but there is a catch, right? It was designed back in 2015, and in the years since then, AI has completely changed the game. So the big question is, does this methodology still hold up? Or can modern AI finally give us a shortcut?
Well, the answer is that this blueprint is actually more relevant than ever before. What it really did was establish the information value chain, a clear path from raw, messy data to real business value. And AI isn't a replacement for this chain, it's a massive upgrade. It's like putting a rocket engine on it. It can make the whole process go dramatically faster.
Let's get really specific here. Remember step 2, building that focused metadata mart? That process of profiling and analyzing all that data used to be incredibly manual and slow. But today, you can feed that metadata to modern AI tools like large language models. Using platforms built for this kind of analysis, you can discover the data structure, find hidden connections, and organize it way faster than any human possibly could.
So what does this AI-powered process actually look like? Well, you start with your raw data, you generate some basic statistics to kind of get a feel for its shape, and then you feed that summary into an AI for the deep analysis. By letting the AI do the heavy lifting of figuring out the metadata, you speed up the creation of that focused metadata mart like crazy, getting you to the real value that much faster.
And all of this brings us back to the fundamental idea that ties this whole thing together. It's all about having the right methodology, not hoping that some magic tool will solve all your problems.
When you boil it all down, there are two fundamentally different ways to think about this. You've got the tool-driven path, which starts with buying tech, gets completely bogged down in infrastructure, and delivers, well, frustration. But then you have the business-driven path. It starts with outcomes, it uses an iterative process, and it delivers actual, real value. The difference couldn't be more stark.
So, the crucial point, the main takeaway, is this. Good data governance isn't a one-time project you just install and walk away from. It's a continuous, circular, iterative process. It's about slowly, carefully building a model that is custom-fit to the real needs of your business, not trying to force your business to fit into a prepackaged tool.
And that leaves us with one final question for you to think about. When you think about data in your own organization, is the conversation focused on building a blueprint that serves the business, or is it all about buying the next shiny tool? The answer to that question will probably tell you everything you need to know about your chances of success.